again from not so sunny Wales. It's a late November day and not very nice at all. But anyway, today we're going to talk about coping with breathlessness. Breathlessness obviously is the major problem, the major result of COPD. Myself, I've got emphysema, and emphysema is a problem of getting the air out of the lungs, not in the lungs. Getting the air in is easy, but they've lost their elasticity, if you like. So getting it out is harder, and I've got to concentrate. And all of us with emphysema have to concentrate to actually get the air out. And once we get it out, we're okay. Many people ask, what's it like with COPD? They wonder what we actually feel. Now, there is a simple way of doing that. I learnt off of a healthcare professional, and that is to ask that person to take half a breath out and breathe in as much as they can. And again, half a breath out, breathe in as much as they can. And go about doing a bit of housework or something like that. They would soon find they're having problems, that they're feeling breathless themselves. Indeed, they'll be feeling like they've got COPD. So next time, you know what to do. Anyway, getting breathless is not dangerous. We all, when we were youngsters, or most of us when we were youngsters, took part in some kind of sport. Maybe it was sports day, the sack race or the egg and spoon race, or 100 yards run, and we got breathless. I used to get breathless. I used to get a stitch in my side, and it really is not dangerous. You get your breath back and you carry on. It's doing nothing that is the problem, because when you do nothing, the muscles weaken and everything becomes much harder. Excuse me. Got a cough. Exercise, now it improves the heart muscles, it improves your circulation, improves your well-being, and improves you in very many ways. I know it does me. I keep active and I do as much as I can now. I'm not talking about particularly vigorous things. Me being active is getting into the car, going somewhere, going to a meeting, and expressing my views at meetings. It's the art of getting into the car, going to where I'm going to go, getting out of the car, walking into the meeting, or doing whatever I'm going to do. It's being active. It's not necessarily being greatly physically active. But if you're not active at all, build up your activities slowly. Baby steps, if you like. Keep that body moving. But most of all, choose activities that you enjoy. Now, hobbies are great. I've got photography, and I really enjoy photography. That's not to say it isn't hard. It's hard at times. I used to have a big camera. I still got a big camera, but I've started going to mirrorless ones now, which are much lighter. The lenses are lighter, the cameras are lighter, the whole gear is lighter, even though I use a scooter to get around. But it's a hobby I enjoy, and it's a hobby that I can share with other people. But most of all, it's a hobby that gets me moving. It gives me a reason to move my body. It gives me a reason to get up in the morning when the weather's a bit nicer. Maybe it's not too nice at the moment. Now, when we talk about lungs again with things like emphysema, we develop what is called long lungs because they lose their elasticity. They're not tight no more. They sag, and they come down and they take up space below your abdomen. Now, long lungs, when I go and have an x-ray, you'll know, because sometimes you'll go for an x-ray and they might have to take 2 x-rays and say, oh, we couldn't get all your lungs in. So when I go in there now, I say to them, take my lungs in portrait mode, please. I've got long lungs. They know what I mean straight away, and they always thank me for telling them, and they have a little laugh over it. But this creates a problem where bending down crushes their lungs, and we're short of that capacity in the first place. We don't need less of it, so we do need a help. I can't get low down on the floor. I use what is called a litter picker or a grabber, one upstairs, one downstairs. That means I can get my slippers, my shoes, my socks off the floor, anything that's on the floor, anything on a retrieve from low down that's light enough to go on that grabber, I can get. Now heavier stuff, obviously in cupboards, has to be higher. If it's anything low, I have to ask someone else to retrieve it for me. But bear that in mind, if you're having problems bending down, that's why. It's because you're crushing your lungs. Another thing that's helpful with that is you can get something to help to put your socks on. I forget what the name of it is. Just Google help to put your socks on. And you put your socks on this, and it's got a couple of long tags, and you drop it on the floor, you get your feet in there, you pull it up, and your socks are on your feet. It's really good, saves a lot of effort. Pacing is important with COPD as well, and you have to think, all the time you've got to get the air out. Now, pursed lip breathing is what's really, really good, and most of us use it. If you're new to COPD, you might not have used it, but pursed lip breathing, you will often hear about it, and it makes life a whole lot better. Bearing in mind that you need to get the air out, and we have to remember to get the air out. So when you're getting breathless, breathe out when you breathe in, and when you breathe out, like that, like you're blowing a balloon out softly, or candles out softly, like that, just like that, or having a little whistle. And so you breathe in, and you will find that's easier. Now, this helps you because it causes a back pressure, a slight back pressure in your lungs. It helps to stop everything collapsing on itself inside. I'm not going to go into the physical things, but it does help. And it helps you to get your carbon dioxide out of your blood, which is very, very important. And then you're getting fresher air in because you're breathing out a bit more when you're doing that. And it means that you're getting more oxygen into your body. So have a practice of pursed lip breathing. Another thing that I have found in the past useful, as a man, normally I would let Lynn push the trolley. I started pushing the shopping trolley because I found that it was easier for me going around a supermarket pushing the trolley than what it was just walking around. And the reason is because you're leaning forward, and leaning forward really does help the muscles. So if you're a man and you don't push the trolley, try pushing the trolley. You'll find it's much, much easier. Other positions, I've got out of breath in the bathroom, and there's a sink there, and I'll put my hands both sides of the sink and I'll lean forward, do a little bit of pursed lip breathing again, and you'll feel much, much better. Or you could sit at a table and you can put your arms down like that, and again you'll feel much, much better. There's many ways that I have developed over years to make my life much easier. Another thing that I do use excuse me, is a walking stick. Now, a walking stick, again, you're going forward a little bit when you're using your walking stick, but if I need to stop, well, as I used to, I use a trolley now. I use a scooter, but I used to stop often and frequently, and I could lean on that stick forward like that. Yeah, pursed lip breathing again. I'll keep bringing it in, pursed lip breathing. Get my breath back, and then I can carry on. So there's another way that you can help yourself. Refuse to be rushed as well. You know, sometimes you're not being rushed, it's in the mind, isn't it? You know, you feel like you're being rushed, you feel like you're having to keep pace with other people, and you've got to remember these people are much fitter than you. They've got full lung health, you haven't. So you've either got to let them go on and catch up with them, or you've got to ask them and say to them, look, you know, I've got a problem with my lungs, as you know, so, you know, can we go a bit slower? If you're on If it's a one-to-one friend, a long-time friend, they'll fully understand and they'll be completely helpful. I've never had a problem with that because what happens is if you're being rushed, you get stressed, and if you get stressed, everything tenses up, and once it tenses up, your body is actually using more oxygen that we just don't have, and you're getting more breathless. Have you ever tried to rush? You know, you're late for an appointment and you've started to rush to get out the house to get that appointment and suddenly found you're getting really breathless. This won't happen to you if you're mild or maybe even moderate COPD, but once you get above that, it is likely to happen, and when you're severe, it definitely will happen. And what's happening is you're tensing, your muscles is using more oxygen, so it takes you twice as long. It takes it ages to get out to do anything. I know it's happened with me. I've tried to rush, I've got breathless, I've had to sit there to get my breath back. Maybe it's taken me 5 minutes to get out to the car, whereas if I'd have just relaxed and blasé and doesn't matter, it might have only taken me 3 minutes, so it's taken me longer by trying to rush. Another thing is climbing the stairs. Now, there's another way of breathing with climbing the stairs. Climbing the stairs for many of us is our personal Mount Everest. We might as well be climbing a mountain, mightn't we, guys and girls? The way to do that is when you get to the bottom of the step, take a deep breath in, breathe out slowly, 1 step, 2 steps, stop. 1 step, 2 step, stop. First step, breathing still, on the way up. 1 step, 2 step, stop. Now, you might find you might be able to do 4 steps. You might find you can only do 1 step. It doesn't matter. The fact is that you're doing it. And do that, you know, as long as you're able to. Obviously, you may find that you are getting out of breath, even so, in which case, do a few steps and stop. The physical activity will help you, but it's understandable that when you get to the severe stage, like me, you may not even be able to manage that. You may need to use some kind of stair lift or something like that. But as long as you're able to climb, do so. Another thing that saves energy is to take a shower and have a seat in the shower, so you can sit down and shower. This saves an awful lot of energy. I use a seat. It's much easier and it's much more comfortable. At first I didn't like using a seat. I didn't want to admit to myself I had to use a seat, but I do now, and I'm quite grateful for it. Another trick with breathlessness, especially for people with very severe COPD, where you get breathless coming out the shower perhaps, is to use a thick terry toweling robe, you know, and come out the shower, put the robe on instead of toweling yourself, and you dry it on the robe basically, and you can sit there as you're getting your breath back, you're drying down, and everything's great. You know, there are lots and lots of tricks that we can use to help our breathlessness, but as long as we stay active and keep breathing, we'll live to another day. Anyway, be safe, breathe easy, stay active. I hope that this has helped you. So for now, I'll say bye-bye.